So welcome to the Python BoF. So we'll be having a discussion about the future of Python in the Debian, and we have Stefano, Piotr, and Matthias here, and anybody else who would care to join in. So let's get started. Carry it away.
I'm the author of PyBuild. Not so active recently, but I hope that in Python, Debian Python, but I hope that...
The green lights.
So should I repeat or? Yeah, that's pretty much all. Stefano.
Yeah, I'm Stefano. I have been looking after PyBuild for the last couple of years. I also maintain PyPy and help Doco with CPython stuff every now and then. And I threw together this agenda based on last year's BoF. I don't know if there's anything else we need to talk about. Please edit things in.
Right, so I'm now co-maintaining CPython with Stefano and, well, having some hopefully soon obsolete packaging packages like distutils and setup tools.
Should we introduce everybody in
Okay, Stefano, you're live. Is there anything else? Should we dive into the agenda that we started here? 3.12? You want to talk about 3.11?
Right, so, well, I mean, for the 3.11 transition, we had, however, a little bit small window of time. The Python 3.11 upstream release was in, I think, mid-October. And only, well, I think in early November we updated, or we made 3.11 a supported version. And we had just 2 months time to get all the packages updated. So that's a little bit close. So for 3.12, we don't have that limitation, that time frame. However, Ubuntu will have such a time frame, but that ends, I think, at the mid-February, something like that. So for the Trixie release for 3.13, I think we should talk again with the release team to have a little bit more time, because I think just having a big vacation before the release freeze is not very helpful. And yeah. So now 3.12 upstream release is expected early October. And so Graham Ings already made a test rebuild. I think he got up all the transition levels up to NumPy. Built NumPy with a few tricks, and so we have about 50% of the packages rebuilt without changes. So that's the current status.
That's not great, but I suppose that's all the hard packages.
Yeah, but we so that's how we were working in the past. So make sure that we can add a new Python version and not disturbing other transitions in Debian. And then fix all the stuff before we make the new Python version the default version. And yeah, then we are blocking the other Debian development a little bit. That's correct.
So when are you thinking that we ask the release team for a slot to add 3.12?
Yeah, I would say end of October, something like that.
So we file the bug as soon as the final releases, or?
Yes, maybe earlier and just, well, we need the bug to set up the tracker,
Yeah.
and then working from that on. So the one big problem is that the utils module will go away with 3.12, and there are still a lot of packages depending on that. So what I was discussing with Graham Inks is that we just copy the 3.11 dist-utils module to 3.12 for a limited time, which is a little bit easier to build existing packages or which are not supported upstream anymore. Go with that and then remove it when we make 3.12 the default or when we remove the support for 3.12. So I don't want to ship, so that would be an interim solution. So I don't want to add dist-utils permanently to 3.12.
But it doesn't work for packages which just build for a default. So maybe the second option is better.
Right. So rename means that we won't see every problem with the addition of 3.12, but only when we make 3.12 the default. So maybe remove dist-utils then when we remove the default for 3.11.
Do you have any numbers about these utils? Like how many packages are going to be broken and that kind of stuff?
Well, not exactly. I mean, we have an ABBA dependency. That is the number of packages built depending on dist-utils. It's not that many. Plus, we have the version module inside the core packages. And I have to see how many packages still use the version module, dist-utils.version.
Do you intend to prepare something? Like I remember you have done it in past, in one of the past transitions to prevent some information like I have done a rebuild with this stuff and there's the outcome. This package all needs some work and on it?
So the problem is you only get that information once you start the work, because you only can say something about the first levels, and we don't have a good way to prepare that work outside of the archive. So even now in a PPA in Ubuntu. You do the test rebuild, but then you have to fix first all levels before you can go on. And then you have to take care, there are no new versions, which are in the archive and newer, and you have to rebuild. So you have to keep the PPA in the current state. So it's for big transitions, it's just difficult. And I know it's a problem, but I don't have a good solution for that.
So how can we help with how can we help with that now? Look at the bugs in the
I mean, you know more about the setup tools deprecation. So that's one thing which is happening now. So at least keep that up to date. Or we should have one more test rebuild for unstable, I think, to see what is currently failing. And so I think I saw about 50 to 60 Python build failures for recent Ubuntu test rebuild, but yeah, I would like to use a Debian test rebuild to fire bug reports for that.
And it sounds like we should probably have a mass bug filing about distutils.
And setup tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean packages depending on setup tools?
Well, you said there are a lot of packages, or that's something which I think Scott K was mentioning. So the transition from setup tools to TOML.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I was thinking about.
I don't think they're forcing that on anybody yet, but they want to at some point.
Okay, but maybe we should do that after 3.12.
Yeah.
So.
Shall we move on to the next agenda item? We spoke about expected Python releases and Trixie, so you're expecting 3.13.
Well, yes, that's my hope.
Yeah.
And again, I think the upstream release for 3.11, which became Bookworm's default version, was 2 weeks later than I hope the expected 3.13 release date, which now should be early October. But then again, we don't have a release date yet, or a freeze date, which makes it difficult. On the other hand, I would like to have a little bit more time instead of this year, when maybe that was done by intent, so everybody is on vacation, it's quiet, and nobody has time to do anything. But so for a major transition, it's not, or it could be better.
So the next item after that was PEP 668 that marks our site packages as being externally managed so that pip won't install things on a system. How are people feeling about that? I know it's caused a lot of confusion amongst users, but I think they're getting the hang of it. No one's wanting to hang us. I think we're doing all right.
Unfortunately, I saw a lot of guides to overwrite it, and that's...
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I'm fine with people overriding it. That is just, they're explicitly opting into maybe breaking their system.
I mean, it's okay that we have it turned on by default, so that people, well, at least can remember why they broke their system. But yeah, I don't think we can do anything more. And I mean, it's a valid reason to do that in a CH root or in a container. But even then, maybe you want to have a mix of Debian and pip Python modules in a container as well. So it all depends on the use case.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can do more here is provide a separate developer Python installation. Either pyenv or a separate package that a separate binary package that someone installs that gives them a Python that doesn't have any Debian stuff on the sys path and no Debian managed packages in its path.
So one more thing which we could do is, well, not for 3.12, but maybe for 3.13 to propose a new option for Python to call Python with only externally managed modules. So, and that option could be added to Debian builds, so that we just have don't rely on any locally installed modules.
That would make sense, yeah.
Are you volunteering? Yep.
Maybe. Let me note down the idea. I can at least I can start a discussion on it.
Yeah, but that should be upstream and
So about adding Sphinx support to PyBuild, that was actually something I thought about implementing from the beginning, but after starting that, I realized it not really belongs to PyBuild. I added a lot of stuff to PyBuild so that it exports stuff sometimes needed by Sphinx, but I think documentation should not be generated in Sphinx, in PyBuild. I'm more fan of the Unix way, so that it does only one thing and it does it good. And there are a lot of different ways Sphinx documentation is generated. Sometimes there are additional languages supported. It's in different directories, needs different previous steps, and adding all these heuristics to PyBuild doesn't really make sense to me. I think all that's needed to create something outside PyBuild that feeds information like current build directory and so on, or installed directory if documentation needs to be created out of installed module. It's already there in PyBuild, and I am strongly against implementing that stuff in PyBuild. I agree, though, that something that automates that is needed. I just think it should be in, I don't know, maybe Python Sphinx package or something external.
So then, does PyBuild need to provide some kind of plugin interface to add this extra Sphinx build step?
It already has ways to export things like current directory, the one with modules. So I don't think anything in PyBuild should be added.
Okay.
I just think that there should be another DH DH build Sphinx tool somewhere that's simply because, you know, not Sphinx documentation is not only used nowadays in Python. There are like Linux kernel or GCC. They're not using Python, and they still want to build documentation using Sphinx. Sphinx is more general tool these days, so we should not hard code Python somewhere or force to use PyBuild by packages that are not really Python related. So I think it should be somewhere outside so that other packages can use it as well.
That makes sense. So the other item in the PyBuild topic is at some point we need to migrate to building setup tools packages through Python 3 build, through the PEP 517 interface. This is probably something we should try and do an archive-wide rebuild and see how bad the impact is, because I expect many packages will just work and many others won't.
From my experience, I already converted few packages of mine, and they all needed some changes, patches or new dependencies. So I don't think we are ready to make it default right now, but we definitely could add some heuristics to detect if it's possible to build, for example, there are all needed files or dependencies installed, but I don't think we are ready for that.
Yeah, so if you do make it as a default, then please add a time after the 3.12 and before the 3.13 transition.
I also had like tried converting some, and yeah, mostly, yeah, nothing worked by itself. All needed some touches. So really, we are very far from making a default here, in my opinion. Like we should just talk next year this level of faring.
Yeah, I kind of want to do the test just so I can see numbers and report them upstream as well.
I mean, sure, you can test and build everything, but don't expect, don't be too optimistic.
People see the deprecation warnings and they think, oh, this is all going to stop working sometime soon. But I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah, exactly.
To do runtime detection right now, we would need additional we need TOML support, which is is it in 3.11? TOML reading, I can't remember.
I think there's something compatible in the standard library right now, but I'm not sure of that.
Because, yeah, currently, to do the Py project build, you need Python 3 build, you need Python 3. So there's a few extra build dependencies that you need, which is why we currently have a separate binary package to depend on them. And one of them was the TOML library.
One thing that you might want to do is making lintian like warn if you have a TOML file, but you're not using PyProject. That's kind of
we should definitely do that.
It's kind of the safe case, because like if upstream is providing a TOML, that probably works, maybe. Not often, but.
We've hit the end of our agenda here. Well, okay, I have one more item, which was upstream patches. We always need to do more work on trying to make some of our Python idiosyncrasy. It's getting better. We still carry a lot of patches to CPython, some of which upstream doesn't even know about. We could use help in forwarding these or reviving old bugs where we tried to forward this and the discussion stalled.
I don't follow CPython at all. Could you give examples on where we are diverging that will make sense?
So many of them are really minor, like multi-arch bits and loci.
Yeah, as Stefano mentioned, we have some build stuff or stuff which is about the installation, not into Debian default locations, which we still have. But I think these will all go away once we don't have distutils anymore, and then once we migrate away from setup tools. We just have to make sure that we don't introduce these problems again with newer build tools. We have some patches to keep the Python minimal self-contained. And so at this year's language summit, so there was even some other people pointing to Python minimal as an option to have a very small Python footprint. So apparently it is used, yeah, but there's no formal PEP to have something like that upstream.
And there's also the odd cases where we fixed a bug and we tried to push a fix upstream and it stalled forever.
Become an upstream developer.
Yeah. But for many of these, the reason behind it is forgotten in the mists of time. There are other bigger things like our unusual installation layout with dist packages that we were hoping to push upstream at the time and didn't succeed in. And now everybody looks at us as being the weird...
Well, that's the way... Well, the upstream behavior is by version, and we just put everything into one location for every version, because else we would be back in the old Python 2 times with Python support and Python Central, and I think nobody did like that.
So Oren Palmer's been chatting away in IRC, and sorry, I hadn't been paying any attention. You asked about DH Sphinx doc. Yeah, that helps with installation of Sphinx packages. It sets up the dependencies correctly and uses symlinks to shared files where possible, but it doesn't actually build the documentation. You have to do that separately. He also asks whether depending on Python 3 minimal is still banned. What's the... Is
about the DH Sphinx docs tool, it runs too late to build documentation, so we need another one that is invoked a lot earlier in order to build it.
Are you thinking still in the installation phase of the package, but much earlier in the installation phase?
Maybe, because the right location would be the build stage at the end of it, but sometimes the modules are not recognized correctly. The Python modules, not all files are installed, and that's why sometimes you need to run the install stage in order to have all the needed files and the Python module, so that Python module would be importable and so on. So that's one of the quirks in the tool that needs to be implemented somehow.
So there's a question about whether depending on Python 3 minimal is permitted.
The current Python policy explicitly states that it's not permitted.
And that's largely because, I mean, Python 3 minimal really exists for installer use cases, right? For us.
Installer use cases, having a minimal set installed in a chroot. For that reasons, yes. But so I'm not sure that Python minimal makes sense even in a chroot installation. And because we already separate the development stuff from the runtime stuff, which also is criticized, but we do that for every package, not just Python. And I don't want to forbid it. It's just you would have a use case for that. So
Yeah, I think it would make more sense to say it. Python 3 minimal isn't an it's not an interface that we provide any guarantee for, unless maybe upstream adopted some kind of minimal standard library.
Well, not a question, but one upcoming problem, well, or issue with 3.13 or maybe later. So 3.12 will add an option to build with an per interpreter GIL. And I didn't do experiments yet what to do about that because it's a somehow different build. Well, it's not yet released, so people or third parties don't have a chance to use it. But I have no idea yet what to do in the distro, so just keep it as it is for 3.12. And so I hope we don't have to provide two different interpreters. And but yeah, I think that's more a topic for 3.13 or 3.14 for the distros. But if you want to have a look, please experiment with it.
I still want to make the PyPy installation more useful for users as well, which means building more packages with it. Last year after the BoF, I filed a bug with NumPy requesting that we try and get the NumPy stack up, and the maintainers weren't particularly interested in doing that. So it goes. I probably need to help with patches.
I mean, is there upstream support for that in all these third-party modules, or?
Generally, yes. Yeah.
Well, we could make policy changes to recommend that at least to have PyPy support.
Yeah, but we need to get the lowest place levels in place first before it's really possible to do that. And then we've still got a dependency mess that we've never quite figured out how to handle.
Can you explain what PyPy support is?
What PyPy support is. So pure Python modules work. In Debian, CPython and PyPy both have user lib dist packages on the module search path. So if you install a pure Python module in there, it just works. Unless it depends on a C module, because that C module will probably only have been built for CPython, because right now that's all of them. So if you need to import a C module for your pure Python to work, then you need that PyPy module to have been built. And for some... Yes. Or 3 times if there's currently 2 CPython versions in the archive. So, for really popular modules like NumPy, it's... The kind of people who are using PyPy probably want all of the popular modules available. We should at least try and provide those. But the dependencies get a little tricky. We really just need to try it and see what the mess looks like.
Still don't quite.
Currently, you have to add a new binary package, and then PyBuild will pick it up and build an extension for another interpreter. Maybe I don't know if it's a good idea, but maybe we should start building it for Python 3 full, so that it ends up in the same binary package. This way, nothing except adding new dependencies, maybe, nothing needs to be done in order to build PyPy extensions.
And the binary packages get a bit bigger, but on the whole, that's not a big deal.
So is the goal to be able to install some Debian packages and then pip install something from PyPy that depends on those packages?
PyPy, not PyPI.
Never mind.
We have 10 minutes. Anything else we should talk about? Yes. Please get a mic.
I was curious how, what is the changes what PEP 668 introduces, and how will it change the user experience?
So PEP 668 introduces a new file called externally managed that tells installers like pip, this Python installation is managed by another package manager. Please don't add or remove any files from this path, because if you do, you will be stomping on something else. It gives a mechanism for providing an error message. So we have an error message that says, please don't try and install things with pip. Read this README if you want more information. And there's a README that tells you, tries to give you a bit of background on what the best ways to install Python things are. And if you really want to disable this feature, how to disable it.
Because right now there are a lot of examples on the web with sudo pip install something, which can break your system. And we are trying to find a way so that people are aware of that, so that they get at least a warning. Don't do that, you can make your system unbootable.
So that means, to make myself understand it, that means you say like module X is shipped by a binary package something, please add it to that file. To make myself understand it. So you say module foobar is you add it to the externally managed file, and then it won't stop on it. Or?
The entire dist packages directory has an externally managed file in it that says this is the package managed area. It goes more than that. The definition really is that it's a Python installation that is package managed. So if you were to build your own Python from source and it wasn't referring to user lib dist packages, then it wouldn't get PEP 668 flags if you try and use pip.
Okay, so that means that the Python package will set that file and not every package. Okay.
Yeah, it's provided in the Python interpreter package. And the workaround for people who know what they're doing and want to break their system is to delete that file or to pass an argument to pip, say, force install this, I really want to do it. Yeah. I think it's -- break system packages.
I have more or less a question how we should deal with packages that have in the future, because of the last transitions I had some issues with some members of the Debian developers where the person is set within the maintainer field and the uploaders field is set to the Debian package team. Technically, the person owns this package, and I get some emails that were not really friendful to me. But they are more or less key packages in some certain areas around Python. How can we manage that better?
Yeah, this has happened to all of us. And I think we all know who you're talking about as well. Yeah, I do wonder if that policy of having... So for those who don't know, in the Debian Python team, we have a policy that says there are two different ways that you can declare that a package belongs to the team. If you put your name as the maintainer, then the package is still yours, but the team can contribute changes to it. That's not really clearly defined exactly how they contribute changes, but they really shouldn't do uploads of it without your approval. And if the team is in the maintainer, then anybody in the team can feel free to do whatever they want with the package. There's at least one person who feels very strongly that they want to keep their ownership of their packages, and if we change the rules about this, then they'll pull all their packages out of the team. So until now, we have kept the status quo, but I think it's confusing for people, and I don't think it's doing him any favors. Yeah.
I don't feel that strongly about it, but there are few packages that I maintain that I really want to have a final look because it's a bit complicated. Not like most of the Python packages where you just ship a Python module, but there are some packages that are really complex, and I already was in a situation that somebody added a patch or removed a patch because he didn't simply understand it, and that's why I'm one of the guys that I don't really feel that strongly about it because most of my packages have a team in the maintainer field, but there are exceptions. So I understand why this is used.
It's completely fine to me, but it's always the case how the communication works. At least my communication with you was always at a tone where I say, yes, that's correct. But the person, probably everybody knows what I'm talking about, is more rude in his tone. And yeah, it brings me, at least at one time, to a situation where I say, get the shut up, I get out of my home, I don't want to read this fuck. But
that's not the right
yes,
thing, but that's
yes,
not
it's not acceptable, but technically the person owns this package, and I can, even if I want, nothing to do against about it. And the last resort would be to call the CTDE, but we know that just takes time and doesn't get any step further in the needed time. If I think about the time span Doku has talked about, and even you with things, time matters in the end.
Maybe we should change the policy a bit so that, I don't know, if the team is in the uploaders field, just ask the current maintainer or the person in the maintainer field, but don't feel that strongly about ownership of this package in the team. So if you don't get an answer in few days, upload, and that's fine, that's okay. What I wanted out of this is just a ping so that, hey, I made some changes to your package. It's already in the Git repo. Please take a look because I will upload in a few days. And that's all I needed, just to quickly take a look at the diff and check if some wrong changes are not made over there. And
that is mostly the approach I take with packages like that, and it seems to mostly work.
Yeah, that's my experience too. We have a lot of really, really experienced people in the Debian team, I think, and mostly, if not all, of the communication was that way, like Stefano said. And I tried to fill the README source file with information that's most or should be helpful for others, contributors or even maintainers. And probably if we change the policy in some way, I often see package which doesn't even have a file README source, and that's exactly about this. Describe how the source is managed and how are the needs for the package managing.
you definitely can change anything in our repo. So I think nobody is against that. So even if somebody is in the maintainer field, you can change, you can make any changes. It's I think it's only about upload, so that the person who feels more responsible about the package can take a final look.
So we are almost out of time. So shall we finish? Is there anything more? Yeah. Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. The BoF is concluded. Thank you. Yeah.